Did you ever stop and think, why spend too much time just getting ready? Let me be honest, I don't know a single thing that I haven't done to make you notice me. Let me be real here. When I see you, my heart starts racing, but I don't know if I like this chasing and playing and waiting around. It's a shame that my hands start shaking all of the time when you're around me. But this time, girl, I know what's bothering me. I need somebody to love. Oh, nah, 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 nah. Don't you see what's wrong with me?
Today is October 9th, 2020, Friday of the 27th week in Ordinary Time, and you are tuned in to Deacons Discussions and Drinks.
To hang around when you don't have to. There's so much that I'm still keeping to myself, 'cause you don't listen, babe. But still you got me missing you. When I see you, my heart starts racing, but I don't know if I like this chasing and playing and waiting around. It's a shame that my hands start shaking all of the time when you're around me. But this time, girl, I know what's bothering me. I need somebody.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Deacons Discussions and Drinks. I'm Deacon Tim Stout.
I'm Father Lin Nguyen.
There is no Deacon Dallas Kelly tonight.
Where did he go?
He has the night off. Well, not really. He's at a wedding. Oh, look at that. We got feedback. Now we got it. Got to mute everything else. No, he's at a wedding in Louisville tonight. So we asked him to call in. He said no. So, oh well. Hey, we're back live in the studio tonight, and it's kind of a different night. We got two guests with us tonight. One that should be very familiar to you, Mr. Larry Oser, parishioner, and the person who put together and manages the Fill the Truck program. We see him at least twice a month, if not more. And we also have with us the executive director of the Amen House, Miss Michelle Carlisle. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Thank you very much for the invite.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. How about you, Father? Are you excited about it?
Well, finally being able to bring them here to talk about it, right?
Exactly.
A lot of questions.
We've been given food for how many months now?
38.
38 months. That's a lot longer than we've been doing this show. I'll tell you that. 38 months. The parishioners of St. Francis and John have stepped up to the call.
They've overexceeded my expectations by miles.
Well, we'll get into that in a little bit for sure. We're going to skip our current events, if that's
Yes.
all right with you.
That would be fine.
I mean, there's all kinds of current events to talk about, from the fly in the vice president's hair to the cancellation of the next debate. But we'll just skip all that stuff and go right into
Fun stuff.
the fun stuff. The Amen House. Michelle, you're the executive director. How long have you been at the Amen House?
Sure, I've been there for about 4.5 years at this point.
Already?
Already. I know.
I don't remember when you first came.
You do or don't?
I do.
Yeah. So
Time flies.
Right.
So for the average person out there, that if they didn't know anything about the Amen House, how do you describe what the Amen House is?
Sure. We are your local food pantry. We have one mission, and that is ending hunger right here in Scott County.
And, you know, when I think a lot of people in Scott County, they don't know that there's a hunger problem here.
I didn't know. Like, I really, really didn't. Like, if you ask me how I got here and how I got involved, I was kind of blindsided by a third grade teacher.
So are you from Scott County originally? Or?
Not originally.
So
Scott County feels like home, but no, I grew up in Western Kentucky.
Okay.
And we moved here for school and got married here and lived in Lexington for a while. And then when my kids were old enough to go to school, we started looking at options and really liked the Scott County school system and thought that would be a good fit for our kids and our family. So we moved to Scott County at that point. And really, I was just doing life. I had 2 kids. I started a business. I used to own and run Carlisle photography. So I was a photographer in my previous life. And really just that gave me the flexibility to get involved at school. And so when Lemon's Mill opened up, I was invited to be part of the family resource advisory panel there. And within moments, like, I got some big life lessons. We'd had this big, beautiful school that had just launched, and my little 3rd grader was going to class every day. And literally in that first meeting, the teacher just broke my heart. I mean, she literally broke into tears in the middle of the meeting and said, "We can't wait another 2 months to get a backpack program going at Lemon's Mill. The kids in my classroom are hungry today." She happened to be my son's teacher.
Wow.
And I kind of had not on my watch kind of moment. And I literally just said, "We're starting a backpack. Like, we're figuring it out. I don't know how it's going to happen, but we're starting a backpack like today." And that just became like this snowball effect of me getting involved in food rescue and really looking at the hunger, because you nailed it. It's really, really easy not to see it in Scott County. You can go through your entire day, your entire life. Like I said, I was living mine and just happy and just fine. And then I think when you're faced with that moment where it's in front of you, you have to make a choice. And you can choose to do nothing, and that's a choice. A lot of times we just kind of, it's too big, it's too hard, somebody else is supposed to be doing this. And that's a choice. It's not maybe a choice that you think about a whole lot, but if you're choosing to do nothing or to just look away, that's a choice too. In my world, I made a choice to get involved. And it has completely changed my entire life. Like, I've shut down my business. I do this full time now. I'm not just a little bit involved in fighting hunger. It's my passion. It's what drives me. It's why I get up in the morning. I truly, truly believe that nobody should be hungry here. Not in Scott County. We have enough.
No, and I think that's one of the things that surprises me so much is that the need. Obviously, I did a little bit of research before and read Gerald's website and some of the stats.
Sure.
And, I think most people, there's 2 sides to Scott County. The part that I think that people see, and then there's this other side. And I think we even see it today when we talk about crime. There's some uptick in crime in Scott County in the last few months. Could be related to the pandemic or whatever, and people are surprised by it. Crime's always been a part of Scott County. It's just kind of been hidden and out of the way. And then hunger, obviously, has been here a while. It just didn't show up, 4.5 years ago when you started your journey. So
Right.
Was the Amen House already in place, or did you help establish that? Tell us a little bit.
No.
Okay.
I came in way later.
Okay.
The Amen House is 30 years old.
Wow.
So it was established in 1990. Really just the heart of this community. The churches brought it together and said, we need one location that can do this and do this well. And so, no, I was not around when it was established, but I'm so very thankful for the hard work that was put in that brought this concept together. It was handed off to me at a beautiful, beautiful point where so many things were coming together. And then I was able to take the hard work that had come before me and just say yes and yes and yes to those next steps. And then we have a very, very strong food supply and a very, very strong food pantry because of years of dedication to volunteers after volunteers just fighting hunger.
How long has St. John's been involved? That's not Larry's part of it, because we'll get to Larry's part of it, but has St. John's been a supporter of the Amen House for a long time?
Very long time. Since
Maybe I don't know.
Since when it first started.
When
Yeah, I think they've been involved, not to the extent of what it sounds.
Yeah, the involvement today is on steroids.
Yep.
Yeah, you took it up a notch. So, how many churches are involved with the Amen House?
We have, you're going to put me on the spot with numbers.
No, well, you can
have
estimate.
Beautiful, beautiful support from our churches. We really do. We probably have upwards of 10 who we are literally part of their budget. Like, they are faithful to make sure that the Amen House has the funds that it needs. But beyond that, I mean, so many people, like Thanksgiving is coming.
Right.
So we will see our churches step up in a beautiful, beautiful way, and just make sure that all of those Thanksgiving baskets happen. We could not do what we do without the church community and kind of the fallout of that, because it may not be, the church signing the check at the bottom of it, but I know so many pastors, encourage their congregation to get involved, to volunteer, to look at what the needs are, and just those communications and then, sharing about the Amen House, then that ripples effect to, Christians in our community who are faithful to just support us themselves.
So is your level of outreach, does it match demand, or are you still not meeting the demand of what the community needs?
So while I would love to just sit here and say, oh, we've got this all figured out, probably one of our toughest conversations with families, we do have something that's called Amen House Direct. So we have a food delivery service, and it's a pretty young service. We're probably maybe 2 years into that. And anytime you launch a new program, you have to start somewhere. So when we started looking at deliveries, we really started looking at the absolute most vulnerable. So that turned into a lot of our elderly senior citizens that were homebound and making sure we could get food to them. So that's where those screenings started. And we feel like we, if a senior fitting that category calls us and they need food delivered to them, we are on it. We have a plan for that. But especially, it seems like the pandemic has just put an exclamation point at the end of everything. And now we have like single moms calling that are physically able to come get and pick up the food and take it home. They just have no transportation to do that. So we're having to look at pieces of, if we really say we're ending hunger in Scott County and nobody will be hungry here, we're going to have to look at expanding that. I do think, if you can get to the Amen House, like I said, our food supplies are strong, and we can meet the daily demand. But now it's really looking at kind of like those edges and being like, how do we continue to strengthen Amen House Direct? And to be honest, that takes volunteers. Like someone literally has to give us roughly about 3 hours of their month to take those food deliveries and make those happen. You would pick it up at the Amen House. We'll load you up with food. We typically try to give you 4 to 5 deliveries to make in somewhat general vicinity, although Scott County's a big county.
Yeah, it is very big.
But and then, you take the food out, deliver it, and then just,
So it's kind of like
anyway.
DoorDash for the Amen House.
Kind of,
So
yeah.
like the Amen Dash. There,
Kind of.
I just came up with a word. Amen Dash.
But if we're missing the mark somewhere, I feel like it's there.
And do you have regular volunteers that do that part of it for you?
Oh, most definitely.
But you could use more.
Yes. So that's kind of where the tipping point is. It's not necessarily that we don't have the food, because we're doing okay and have kind of balanced that out, so that we're not doing all of those in one day. We've got them spread over the first 2 weeks of the month, so it kind of balances the food in-house, if that makes sense. Because if they all were to go out in one day, then that would be a problem, just based on the food rescue that we do.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, really, I don't know if you guys follow our Facebook page, but definitely the past 2 months or so, I've hit it pretty hard with the description of what that direct team looks like. You do have to be able to lift about 30 or 40 pounds. Food is heavy, and the volumes that we kind of send out, it does take somebody who can move that food around. We love teams. If you're going out into somebody's house, we do require that you go 2 at a time. So it's a little, more complicated to find that match than it is to just, hey, come volunteer at the Amen House. But we know people who love it. They have a heart for it. They're getting to know the people that they deliver to. Like I said, a lot of those are seniors. And it really is a touch point for a senior who's potentially homebound and may not have somebody else checking on them every month. So we're at least that one check when we bring food, that we check in, make sure they're doing okay, get their food to them, and then they know they'll see us again next month.
So it's a little bit beyond just the food ministry. It's also a presence ministry. You're present with them.
Most definitely. Yeah.
So when we talk about pounds of food, there's nobody better to talk about the pounds of food than Mr. Oser. Larry?
Yes, sir.
How do you handle all the food that gets donated at St. John's?
All goes in the gray truck. And when the gray truck gets too full, then we bring the box truck. But every Monday at approximately 8:30, the gray truck backs down the alleyway of the Amen House, and we're greeted with open arms.
And we've been, up until the pandemic, I was going to ask you how the pandemic has affected us. We'll get to that in a little bit, because pandemic has affected both sides of it. Our ministry at St. Francis of John, and your ministry at the Amen House. But in general, overall, what's the total dollars in tons? I'm going to say tons, but we could probably do it in tons now. But let's start in pounds.
The amount of food that we've collected in 38 months is 21,500 pounds of food.
21,000 pounds of food. And how many dollars?
$39,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It is, because he shows up all the time. So, like we unload the truck, and then we unload the truck, and we unload the truck. But when you start adding it all together, I mean, the impact that your church is having on Scott County is huge. And I'll go ahead and just say it. If we could get all the churches to do what St. John does for us, oh my goodness, like we wouldn't have to worry about a thing.
The Oser supposed to have a fill the truck competition between churches, right?
I originally, about a year and a half ago, tried to get it started. I got 2 or 3 churches that said that they were interested and would get involved. I explained to them what I do and told them that I'd be willing to come to their church and show them how to do it. And it got that far. But he never came back with a definite yes.
So we need another Larry Oser at each one of these churches,
There you go.
which is hard to do. I'd say it's impossible myself, but there's people out there that have the same spirit that you have.
Oh, I'm sure there are.
So we just have to find them.
That's exactly right.
I mean, if we had 5 churches in Scott County do what we do, would hunger be a non-issue in Scott County at that point, you think?
I think it would go a long way.
Yeah.
I
But
do.
the issue is here is to raise awareness, right, Michelle? It's so many people do not know. Scott County, one of the wealthiest county in Kentucky. Yeah, we have the most pretty highest population of hunger, homelessness, and we don't talk about it. I remember when I came here, that one of my frustration was get all my brother minister together, and I don't want to talk about it. I said, come on. So finally, we were able to pull together, and Michelle came along. You did an excellent job. You have a great sense of
You're
organization.
talking about the pastors of different churches here in Scott County.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about these issues. And we have the influx of a new group of pastors, very passionate, and they take very seriously on this social justice matter. Homelessness, take it very seriously. And so Michelle came just in time. It's pretty much like God providential, right? Somehow God knocked on certain people's
I
door.
think God had a whole lot to do with me showing up here. Yeah. Yeah.
And Mr. Osa, same thing. He came home one day, right? He just came from Florida, and he said, Father, I want to do this. Sure.
Yeah. So have you guys met Andrew Brown?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you just came home one day and you said, "Hey, I want to do this." I mean, something had to trigger you to want to do this.
Let me explain what happened. My wife and I have been blessed for the last 15 out of the last 16 years. We've been able to go to Florida for the month of January, February, and March. We stay in a community of about 800 people who are there for the same period of 3 months. And one year, one of the fellows came to me, a fellow by the name of Drew Whitaker, who's a resident of Canada. He said, Larry, he said, I'd like to start and see if we could get the people at Camp Florida to donate to Manna, which is the food bank in Lake Placid, Florida. And he said, what we'd like to do is, he said, everybody comes to the clubhouse on Thursday morning. And the reason they come to the clubhouse on Thursday morning is they get free coffee and donuts. So here we have 200, 300 people that come in for free coffee and donuts. He said, why don't we start a program called Fill the Truck? I said, well, what do you want to do? He said, what we're going to do is, he said, we're going to back my pickup truck up in front of the clubhouse. And for the period of 2 hours from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, we're going to tell people that we're going to be there that Thursday. And we just did it once a season, so only did it once every 3 months. And he said, in that 2 hours, he said, we want to get people to fill this truck. Once we fill this truck, we're going to take it over to Manor, and we're going to give it to them. I said, well, we can spread the word. So we got the word going, told people we were going to be there. First time we did it, half a truck. Next month, another 3/4 of a truck. Next month, we got full truck.
Full truck.
Next year, we did it again. Got loaded up, took it down to Manor. So when it started work down there, I came back and told Father. I said, Father, I'd like to do this. I said, what I want to do is I want to start a program that we started in Florida. And we're going to call it Fill the Truck. And we're going to do it once a month. And I said, the important thing about it is I need to be able to make sure I communicate with the people in our church what we're going to do, how we're going to do it. Then we need to do it. And then after we do it, we need to show them the results. And that's exactly what we've done.
And you've been religious about it, right? Religious about it. Because I don't think you've missed many Sundays, and you've always when you were supposed to be there to tell us what we were going to bring, right?
Yes,
the week
sir.
before, and being there to collect. I think you've missed a couple, and you got a good surrogate when you were
Very
gone.
important. Peanut.
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter.
Some kid call him, nickname is Mr. Peanut.
Yeah, what had happened was the first winter that came up after I started the program in August, I told my wife and I told Father, I said, I can't leave here in January, February, March and tell these people, you all take care of that program, but I want credit for it, and then I'll be back in April. So
Oh, I don't know. You've flown back a few
that's
times.
what I did the first year. The first year, I booked flights in July so that I could fly back in January, February, and March. I flew home on a Saturday evening, collected food, and I made arrangements with one of my companions of crime so that they would then bring the food over to the Amen House on Monday morning, and I could fly back to Florida for Sunday night. And so
To finish a doubleheader.
So what happened was that all worked so great. Then people came to me and said, Larry, why are you doing this flying up in here? That I said, well, I want to show people that this is, I'm dedicated to this. And they said, well, we'd be glad to help you out. I said, that's great. So I have 3 volunteers now. One guy takes the month of January, one guy takes the month of February, one guy takes March. And I don't have to fly back no more.
That's dedication. That's what that is. And that's what makes it
I had
work.
no idea.
You didn't know.
No idea that you were flying back and forth.
But first year I was.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Larry Oser.
Larry
See, that's
Oser.
what I'm saying. When we say we need to find somebody like Larry Oser at the
No
other
kidding.
churches, it's not just what you see. It's a lot more. You get a lot more than just what you see. And that dedication, I think, is unique. It's obviously it's made this program outside of the folks that are giving the money and the food. It's really what's made it successful is that recurrence that's always there. We like to kid about the peanut butter, right?
Yep.
We all get a good laugh about that, but it's a part of our community. It's a part of our parish life. And how many months is it now, Larry?
38.
38
months. 38 months. So it only takes 38 months to create a good habit. So if there's other churches out there watching, you need to get a hold of this guy or one of us or Michelle and point them in our direction. And let's figure out how we can get this going at other churches.
That would be awesome.
I think we ought to have a contest.
I'd like to do that.
You need to bring that up at the Ministerial Association.
Yeah. We doing Zoom right now.
Oh, you're zooming. We need to come up with a
You can
prize.
challenge on Zoom.
I already have the prize.
What's the prize?
What I would like us to do, if we could get 4 churches, ourselves and 3 others, everybody do it once a week each month. So each church would do it. They would get food every week. We would keep tabs. Everybody would keep track of what they collected. And then at the end of the year, we would come to Cardone for a type of get-together for all the people from all 4 churches. Get to socialize, get to talk about what we've done, and then we would have a presentation of a trophy to the church that collected the most food for that 12-month period. And then that trophy would be rotated every year to whoever, collected the most.
The golden basket. There you go. The
There you
Golden
go.
basket.
We can call it the peanut butter trophy.
The golden basket of peanut butter. Well, I mean, we can put whatever we want in the basket. That's a great idea. We ought to see if we can make that happen. How many people do you serve, you think? Do you know that number?
Sure. So Feeding America would tell us there's about 6,000 individuals in our community that are food insecure. We, in a calendar year, typically touch about 4,000 of those individuals with food. So we have not found everybody, and that's kind of a whole conversation in and of itself.
Is that because they don't want to be found in some cases?
Sometimes. I would say probably our seniors are probably the highest demographic of individuals who will just fight hunger silently, alone, and that shouldn't be okay.
True, right.
But it takes hard conversations. Conversations sometimes with your pastor, sometimes with your doctor, sometimes with your pharmacist, because if you can't pay for your prescription drugs, more than likely you're not able to pay for your food as well. And it's just a different generation. Those seniors and the pride that it would take to reach out for help. We see it often in those conversations and trying to convince them, because we have a whole different senior commodities program that's just for individuals over 60 that are living below the poverty line, and it's a whole extra layer of food. And just trying to have those conversations and navigate the waters of, could this be helpful? Would you be willing to try this? Those are hard conversations. But we see that not just in our seniors. I mean, we see that all across the board. Things are strange at the Amen House right now. Nobody comes inside
Because of COVID.
So we do everything curbside in our parking lot. And the tears that have been cried in our parking lot for parents who have never been to a food pantry that are sitting in our parking lot, and we try to wrap it in dignity, and we try to guide them through the process, but the reality is they have to come and ask. We have to have those first conversations and do the application, and we do it right there on the edge of their car with them, just because that's the regulations right now. But just guiding those families, like I said, who have never, and it may not be that there's no income coming through, but if they've gone from a 2-income family to a 1-income family because the kids are at home trying to do school, which means somebody has to stay home. I think there's sometimes a misconception that, oh, well, I have a paycheck, so I probably can't go to the Amen House. And that's not true. That's not true at all. We help working families all the time. And honestly, it's because of the generosity of churches in our community that we can do above what the government does. So there's a government poverty line, and I can't use federal food if you're above the government poverty line. But when Mr. Oser brings me peanut butter on Mondays, he doesn't ask me how much money the family makes that I'm going to hand it to. Anyway.
So on the federal side of it, so out of all the food that you all distribute, is half of it federal food, or what's the breakdown there?
Sure. It's probably closer to about a third of it that's actually federal food. We do a whole lot of food rescue through Feeding America. Which opens up like Walmart and Kroger and Big Lots and local restaurants that we can rescue food that was headed to the trash can, basically. So we do an insane volume of rescued food. And then we have the federal government program, which we are very thankful that we've been entrusted with that and can get that food to people. And then we've got donations that come in, obviously, that just get brought to us. And then we take that cash, that money that you're bringing. We have a food co-op through God's Pantry. So we can get food pennies on the dollar compared to to what we would do just straight up at the grocery store. So it's a whole lot of working parts coming together so that we have this food. And really the federal government is the one that has the income guidelines on it. But because of support in the community, we're probably 2 years in to my board giving us permission, and it's all percentage based. So typically the government guideline is 130% of the poverty level that I can serve their food. They have upped it during the COVID to the 185. But our board gave me permission, like I said, about 2 years ago, to go ahead and serve all the way up to the 185% poverty level without question. That means it's a working family. And that's a lot of what we see in Scott County, is that it's working families who are struggling. You know, you can work a full-time job, but if you've got 2 kids at home on that percentage base of income, more than likely, definitely if you're entry-level wages, minimum wage, full-time with a couple kids at home, you qualify for full services, even the government services.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that every family has underestimated is the impact of having everybody at home all the time and the impact that is on food, you know.
Definitely.
It's crazy how much food a family can eat when everybody's at home all the time.
You
Right.
should know.
Yeah. As Michelle said, that's a different discussion some other time. But no, it's it's amazing to think that there's that many people that need help and don't ask.
Right. Well,
And
what I want to
so-
make sure, because I know we're talking about all those percentages
Right.
and numbers and all of that, there's a third layer that the board has entrusted me with, and it gives me discretion. And basically, so if you're above the 185 poverty guideline, our policy technically says you have to come and we'll have a chat. And I can promise you that there is no way you show up to the Amen house and you say, I'm not for sure how we're going to eat today, that you're not going to leave with food. We are going to find a program. We are going to figure it out. We're going to make sure that your family has what they need to eat. Because there are so many scenarios, whether it's medical or, like I said, that 2-income family go into a 1-income family. Like, your mortgage doesn't change overnight.
No.
Just because mom has to stay at home or dad's needing to stay at home. Those adjustments can't be made on the fly. But what I can tell you is I can probably let you leave the Amen house with somewhere between $200 and $250 worth of groceries that you're not going to spend at Kroger this month, that you can use to hold that mortgage together or to offset some of the other things that are going on. And when we talk about fighting hunger, I mean, that's the core of it. Like, we want you to have the nutrition and the energy and all of those things that you need to go battle the rest of what's going on.
So if somebody's unsure, should they call or should they stop by?
They can just show up. Our
Show up.
application process is very simple, and it's still the federal application process, but it's very quick. I know there's some applications out there that are very time consuming, and you're not going to get approved for a month, and you might not hear back. That is not the Amen house. Pull up into our parking lot. You do have to bring proof of Scott County residency. You need to bring your photo ID. Right now, some of the regulations are lifted on paperwork because they don't want us passing all of the paperwork back and forth.
No touch.
Yeah. So we're going to verify those things just by, like, you holding up your ID and things like that. We do talk about your income. You're going to self-declare what income is coming in through the household. And then we're going to figure out which food program we can serve you with. And what I can promise is you're not going to leave my parking lot without food. You're just not.
Amazing.
Is that it? That's it. It's about simple food.
You know, I was going back, and didn't we used to store some food here at Cardone?
Yeah.
I know, they're like, have you heard of Building 3? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like that's where it started.
So you ran out of space?
Oh, yeah.
Very fast.
And has that problem been corrected? Or are you all building a new space? What's the facilities?
Details of all of that. You got a couple $1 million.
Well, no. Somebody listening might, but hey.
Somebody out there.
So you
got
need to build a big
couple
warehouse.
$1 million.
Is that what you?
We do. I mean, that's the dream. So currently, we have 5 different locations where we have things squirreled away. We are very, very blessed. oh, fingers crossed that it's all going to happen this year, because I need to talk to the school system a little bit. But the Scott County High School food drive for us, and typically happens right before Thanksgiving, is amazing. I mean, the volume of food that comes in that day, we can't house. Like, it's not even possible. So that's when we had to get creative. And when you guys took possession of Cardome, it became, help, I think you have room. Can we borrow some of it? And of course, the church said yes. We have been in building 3. We have been in the basement of the main building with food, just kind of based on where you guys had a spot that we could go. The craziest memory, I swear, of these food drives is we got smart the second year and figured out that we could open the window to the basement instead of trying to go down the stairs or down the elevator. We literally opened the window.
Just passed
brought
it
in, oh no, high tech. We brought in like conveyor belts
Oh,
that
wow.
rolled, and the kids were rolling food through the window. Like, it was crazy, but it worked. I mean, it was like this beautiful solution to where are we going to put this? And of course, your church stepped up and said, hey, we've got a spot. Please come see if it'll work. So yes, we have had food here. We currently had an opportunity to have like a warehouse grant us some space. So now we can actually drive the semi truck up to a loading dock and unload. So
That makes it easy.
yeah. So we've said goodbye to the window downstairs, but we're so thankful that we had that window when we really, really needed it. But yeah, space is still one of our biggest challenges. It has been crazy. Just trying to keep enough food in the building fast enough for how it's been going out during the pandemic. We created a special food allocation that didn't even exist before, and just trying to keep enough food. At the Amen House right now, we can roughly hold about 2 weeks of food in there before we're having to go out to the warehouse or go next door or figure out where the food is that we can get in. So space is one of our biggest challenges, but I'm telling you, my volunteers are amazing. They step up, and I mean, even when we're unloading Mr. Oser's truck, it's this big old truck full of everything. And while it doesn't really come in on a pallet like some of this stuff does, I mean, we order 10,000 pounds of food from God's Pantry every week. And literally, they load it up on a pallet, and then we get to the Amen House and we back down that little alleyway and we hand unload every piece that's on that pallet. Because in our building, you can't run a pallet jack or move anything like that around. We are very thankful for the Presbyterian Church. Oh my goodness, thankful that we have that space. So I never want to be critical of the space that we have. But man, if we're going to move this forward, we need an operational warehouse.
A couple weeks last year, we blessed a new land property.
Definitely, yes.
Could you talk a little bit more about that so people know where it is and pray for that? Hopefully,
most
in
definitely.
the near future, we will have the warehouse out there big enough to operate as it should.
That would be amazing. So yes, so we have about 14.2 acres. Maybe that's not about. We have specifically 14.2 acres that Amen House purchased at the end of North Hamilton. So if you grew up in Scott County, you're going to kind of think railroad track and creek, where those kind of meet at the end of North Hamilton, on that little corner. The Amen House, that's hopefully our future site of where we would build that warehouse. Like I said, we are, not joking, a few $1 million away. Part of that's infrastructure, like it's farmland out there, so we've got to start from the bottom and actually make all of that happen so that the warehouse could happen. But we're just believing, that will be a possibility in the future, and we just gotta keep moving on to figure that out.
$2 million.
Kid stuff.
Well, I mean, when you think about our little parish donating $40,000 for food, just and the Catholics. Well, let's be honest, we're not the biggest congregation here in Scott County. So maybe we can challenge some of these other denominations to challenge them. We need to get a really good trophy. That trophy needs to look special.
We need to get them to step up to the plate.
To use the softball analogy.
Has the board come up with a strategy campaign for that building yet?
Sure. So we are technically right now in the middle of a feasibility study. Come COVID has been crazy.
Study without
COVID.
Blame
I
COVID.
know. So I really think, or at least what our consultants tell me, is I think they struggled, honestly, to get people to meet and have those interviews. I think COVID kind of just stopped everything there for a little while. So that process took a little bit longer, but we should be wrapping that up very shortly. And then hopefully have a more definitive answer for what the plan will look like moving forward.
Awesome.
But yeah, slow and steady, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Slow
yeah.
and steady wins every
Slow
time.
and
This is not
steady.
this is not a sprint. It is a marathon. Just like anything related to ministry, it's always the long game that we try to play. So, food and the distribution of food, is it uniform throughout the year, or does it go up and down? Holiday season change things dramatically. Winter or summer? How's that break down?
Sure. We stay pretty steady, to be honest, as far as the demand. I will say Thanksgiving is probably like where we feel the stress of trying to get everything together, just because it's like an extra layer, the Thanksgiving basket on top of the regular food. But we just believe everybody, on November 26th this year should have a feast,
Absolutely.
in front of them. So, so we're working hard to get those details together. It's a little different this year. I feel like I'm so tired of saying the word it's different and COVID. But it's true. It's different this year. So we don't feel comfortable having a one-day event like we've had in the past. Honestly, we don't want people standing in line, congregating outside of our building, waiting to get the Thanksgiving basket. So we are going to roll Thanksgiving baskets all of November, which really, really means that we need the Thanksgiving food in by Halloween.
Which is just a few weeks away.
It's just like tomorrow,
yeah,
right?
3 weeks away, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, thanks for the reminder that we're running out of time. But it will happen. It always happens.
So you need volunteers then too, right? Do you need more volunteers, or are you good on volunteers for that side of it?
For the actual distribution, where we're going to slow roll it the entire month, our day-to-day volunteers will just add that to their allocation as they pick up. Honestly, what we need is people to go buy food, just to be really, really honest. That food is not, it's special.
Right.
Like I'm not going to be able to get cans of gravy through
Yeah,
God's Pantry
nobody
Connection.
wants peanut butter for Thanksgiving dinner, right?
Yes, sir. But we at St. John's, we're collecting food this weekend, which is only the 10th or 11th of the month. We'll come back again before the end of the month with the Thanksgiving pickup.
Awesome.
So we'll collect like we usually do in the past. Everything that we've always asked people to do is whatever you have during your Thanksgiving meal, just bring it to us and we'll take it to the Amen House.
I think I got it. I'm just checking my email here. I think I got the Amen House email this morning.
Beautiful.
It said from the church, for church to tell us what to bring this week. I know I saw it. I must archived it already, but you know the list, I'm sure. Do you know what we're supposed to bring this weekend, Larry?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what that is?
Cereal, peanut butter, canned vegetables, and canned fruit.
And do you ever get some food down there that you're like, what is this? Does that ever happen?
It does. It really does. Yeah, sometimes. Honestly, sometimes it comes in as like fresh fruits and vegetables that we're not sure what it is. I totally thought we had spaghetti squash, which was like, I thought a little off season, but one of the local gardeners brought it over. So I was like, okay, thank you so much. And she was like, that's a canary melon, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm glad you told me, because I totally thought it was a spaghetti squash.
What is a canary? Do you even know what that is? A canary melon? You're like a fruit vegetable guru over there.
Canary melon?
Yes. They're in the Amen House right now.
Is that a kind of greenish?
It's bright yellow. It looks like a spaghetti squash, maybe a little bit brighter than a spaghetti squash.
It's almost like a winter squash.
No, it's like a cantaloupe. I don't know.
You should go check it out. Maybe you could cook some amazing. So y'all take fresh food too, then?
We do. Yes.
So obviously
we love our local gardeners.
So that has to move out quicker than the canned stuff, I guess, right?
It does, but
You'll take it.
we'll take it. we're doing about 1,000 requests a month, so food does not sit on our shelves.
So you'll take all foods, pretty much. What will you not take from a food perspective?
Caviar.
Oh no, we'll take that. We'll connect that with somebody. I can't take your beer.
Okay.
But honestly, outside of that, there's nothing. If it's cold or frozen, we have to have a conversation. Like, I got to know it's been cold, you've taken care of it, yada, yada, yada. But even like, I should know when deer season is. But we have like, deer hunters that call us every year and be like, oh, I'm about to go out and shoot again. I need my, my freezer needs to be empty so that my new kill will make it whatever. I'm not saying this very well at all. But
you've painted a good picture. We understand what you're saying.
Yes, we will take your frozen venison. Our clients love it. Like I said, if we're getting into cold food, sometimes it's a little more complicated. Please don't bring cold food to Mr. Oser, where it's going to set in his
That doesn't
truck.
happen, does it? Has it ever? No.
No, we never asked for
Larry's
food.
pretty.
You know what I mean?
Larry's
Like-
pretty clear in his instructions.
Yeah.
So
He's got this down.
He's
But you know
got
what I
it
mean.
down.
If you're bringing it directly to the Amen House, we can work that out. But no, I mean, if it is food and we can connect it to somebody, we will make it happen.
So if somebody misses Larry Oser's Fill the Truck program at church, or if they're listening and they're not part of our church and they just want to come down to the Amen House and donate, when can they do it?
Sure. We are open Monday through Friday, 9 to 12, with extended hours on Tuesday until 3 o'clock.
You've said that a few thousand times, right?
We're also open the third Saturday of every month from 9 to 12. We're doing a low-touch drop-off. So not that you have to put it in your trunk, but if you would go ahead and put it in your trunk or the back of your car, literally, you don't even have to get out. You pop the trunk, my volunteers, because we're doing parking lot check-in with our clients. So my volunteers are out in the parking lot already. So they'll just see it, and they'll be like, give me a second. They'll go get a grocery cart, unload it, and you can be on your way in just a matter of minutes.
So if you get some of these odd, crazy canned goods, because I know you got to get some crazy
Sure,
canned goods
we do.
sometimes, like okra. Maybe
That's
something.
my favorite.
You like that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, but like apple pie filling. I mean,
Hey, bring on the pie filling right now. We need that for Thanksgiving.
Oh, for those listening out there, I would recommend go look into your pantry. I know you have a lot of cans. It's unopened.
clear them out.
Clear them out. Take down to Amen House or to Osa Landing.
Or to Cardome this Sunday.
Call them this Sunday.
It might be wet.
It's wet, but we'll bring you an umbrella. But clear your pantry. Bring
But-
it to Amen House.
So Larry's got the big truck this weekend, right?
Yeah.
So Larry just wants to challenge us to fill the big truck up this weekend. So let's see
Awesome.
what happens. What else do we need to know about the Amen House that we haven't talked about? Anything?
I don't know. Any opportunity, I want to give a shout out to my volunteers. We've got about typically 150 that are active. In COVID world, we have about 100 that are active at the moment, and we get that. I mean, we totally understand that our volunteers need to keep them and their families safe. So we did have several that just felt the need in this time that they needed to step back. But oh my goodness, those that have stepped up in such an amazing way. And just, I love my volunteers, and I talk about them all the time, and they are those words that I'm like afraid to say because you're recording them. My volunteers are retired, and my volunteers are a touch older than I am most of the time, most of them. And they're falling into that demographic because I've sat and listened to them talk about it, where like COVID could potentially be very scary.
Sure.
And they are still showing up to serve. They are still in my parking lot. They are face to face with our clients. They are face to face with our homeless population. They are putting their health on the line because they've decided that the mission they're called to is worth it. And I think we need to not forget that. Like, I think that needs to be said.
Yeah.
Because they blow me away.
The face of God in the community. That's really what that is. I mean, it's the corporal works of mercy right there at hard at work.
Feed the hungry.
It doesn't get any more simple than that.
That's what I think I love about Amen House. There's no creed, no religion, no conflict. except love your brother. That's it. Love your brother and sister and feed them. No question asked. And that's it. That's more simple, authentic Jesus than anything I would get imagine. So important to know that.
Awesome stuff. Larry, you got any final words?
Yeah, I've got one final word. I'd like to, as I do every month, on behalf of myself and the Amen House, thank all the people from St. Francis and St. John's for their continued support and generosity. Please keep up the good work because you're doing a tremendous job.
Amen.
Amen.
Michelle, any last words?
Just thank you.
There you go. Simple as that.
Amen.
Hey, let's go to Saint of the Day. We do a little thing towards the end of the show about Saint of the Day because we're Catholic, so we've got all these saints. Got them right here in front of us, Saint Bobbleheads. I don't have this one up front there.
No, then
He's not there. This one goes all the way back to 250 A.D. This is like 3rd century, real close to probably knowing some of the apostles, people that knew the apostles. So right there in that time. So here we are with Saint of the Day.
Franciscan Media's Saint of the Day for October 9th. Today we celebrate Saint Denis and companions. We know little about today's saint other than he was born in Italy, he was the principal patron of France, and he was the first bishop of Paris. Beyond that, the facts are unclear. The best hypothesis is that around the year 250, Denis and several other missionaries were sent by the Pope to evangelize Gaul, which includes modern-day France. They were so successful that they were ultimately arrested, imprisoned, and beheaded. This occurred during the persecution of the Roman Emperor Valerius, who in 258 ordered all bishops, priests, and deacons to be executed immediately. The bodies of Denis and his fellow church leaders were thrown into the river, but later recovered. A chapel was eventually built over their graves that, centuries later, became known as the Abbey of St. Denis. Many French kings are buried there. What are we to make of this mixture of fact and legend about St. Denis? We can only conclude that the deep impression this saint made on the people of his day must have resulted from a life of unusual holiness, so much so that the Church has never forgotten him. There's more about the saints along with inspiration and Catholic resources at our website, saintoftheday.org. From Franciscan Media, this has been Saint of the Day.
But unique, they didn't tell you one unique about Saint Denis. After he got decapitated, okay,
Right.
he carried his head for 2 miles and preached the good news.
Okay.
Okay. That's why we get the legend of the swordsman, headless swordsman. I think that's what he is.
Headless horseman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Saint Denis.
I think it's amazing that the Emperor Valerius wanted to execute all the bishops, priests, and deacons. Just get rid of all of them.
Clean them out. That's what we do.
And we talk about it's hard to be a Christian in the U.S. today. Sorry, it's not that difficult compared to what we've experienced. Hey, next week we don't have a guest yet, so we're still working on that. But we came up with a pretty good guest this week, didn't we?
Oh, yes. Awesome.
So thanks to Steve, our producer over there behind the technology, for suggesting Michelle. It's great to have you here today. We'd like to give our guest just a little token of appreciation. So I got a gift for both of you. Larry, I have for you a Knights of Columbus rosary.
Thank you.
And a rugged rosary form that you'll never need another rosary. And from Michelle, I have for you, just hot off the presses. Sorry. This is it says Word on Fire Bible, but it's actually just the Gospels. And
Cool.
This is by Bishop Barron. You want to kind of maybe explain Bishop Barron just a little bit for people that may not be Catholic that understand what he does and what his ministry is?
Yeah, talk to me.
Bishop Robert Barron was a systematic theologian, my professor actually from in Chicago, and his passion is study deep how to evangelize to a new culture, social media. For him, in order for us to strike a conversation, we have to look at the beauty of what God is, beauty in each other, and then we have strike compensation. That Bible is very unique. Most of his interpretation is in it. Very beautiful inscription writing.
Yeah, a lot of commentary in it.
Commentary. His writing, he developed an institute called the wordonfire.org. And I also have an institution. The institute right now actually help people educate deep into the Christian understanding and faith, dealing with evangelizing the modern culture. That's what we face right now. So he's right now the assistant bishop to the Archdiocese of L.A.
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. It's a really good gospel. Just read the introduction; it'll tell you a little bit about it. It's for people that are looking for answers, and aren't we all looking for answers? Right, especially during COVID. I mean, yeah, we need answers. I think you'll enjoy it.
Your $2 million life from within there.
In here.
Yes.
It is. You'll get the answer inside there, and he puts a lot of artwork in there too, because he believes that the mystical part of church through its art is God. God is in the art. In the art.
The art leads you to the divine mystery. So if you're watching us, you need to go to the Facebook and look for Amen House. Like the Amen House page, so you can stay up to date with all their current events, right?
That sounds perfect.
Yep.
That's usually where I go first.
Yeah. And then if there's anybody that's watching us from the Amen House page and you want to know more about our ministry at St. Francis and John, come to our page and like our page. We reciprocate, whether you're listening to us on a podcast, if you're listening to us on YouTube, subscribe and like, but most of all, show your support to the Amen House, and also show your support to the ministries we're doing here at St. Francis and John, ssfj.org. That's ssfj.org, where you can contribute any way you want electronically. No touch. We don't want to touch your dollars. We want to do everything electronically. So show your support to us, and we thank you for that support. Just like Larry said, we thank you for the support for the Amen House in the past and in the present, and especially this weekend. All right, Father, how about a blessing?
Sounds like a plan to me. Gracious God, we give you thanks for the wonderful ministry that your Son called all of us, especially the service of the Amen